just to let you know, everybody, we will be recording this morning's webinar so that you can then share it with your colleagues. But welcome everybody to our BFA's How to Maximise Your Sales on Amazon webinar. Quick housekeeping tips. Could you use the Q&A or raise your hand to ask a question? Jack will take questions throughout, but we will have a bigger session at the end for questions as well. Today, I'm pleased to welcome Jack Cooper, Commercial Director at RT7Digital. Yeah. RT7 are an Amazon specialist agency that helps businesses maximize their Amazon selling potential. And I know this is a big issue for a lot of members of the BFA. So whether you're new to selling on Amazon or an established brand, today Jack will be providing you with advice on how to take the pain out of conquering this very important sales channel. So Jack, it's over to you. I think you're going to explain a little bit about who RT7Digital are and their services. And so over to you, Jack.
Great, thanks, Lucy. Yeah, so I'll just begin with a brief introduction. As a new relationship, very excited to be part of the BFA community, and this will be hopefully one of many webinars that we will do, as there's a lot to run through with Amazon. But today we're going to be going through just a top level view around key areas of Amazon. So it is really the basics, and then we're going to potentially in future webinars really delve into more detail around specific areas, and we will take on board feedback and looking forward to seeing which areas you'd like me to expand on in the future. In terms
I did warn Jack that I'd step in several times throughout his presentation, but I just want to say to everybody, you don't need to scribble furiously because we are going to share Jack's presentation. So he is going to cover the most enormous amount of stuff, which means I should shut up very quickly. We will be letting you have the details. So if you miss something, don't panic.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so there's a lot to go through, and I will be keeping it reasonably top level. But as Lucy said, we will record this and share it with everyone afterwards. So RT7Digital, we are an Amazon specialist agency. I was involved in the launch of RT7Digital 4 years ago as an agency to help brands really get through take the pain away from selling on Amazon and take them through the journey. So we are a one-stop shop for all things Amazon. Everything that I'm covering within this webinar in terms of the key areas, and I'll talk what those are in a second, are all areas that we do cover and optimize across our clients. So we are an end-to-end service for brands both big and small at whichever point they are in terms of their Amazon journey. So for those that are established, we also are able to help brands that are established on Amazon as well as those who are not yet selling on the channel. Perfect. So in terms of what we're going to cover today, just some facts and figures around Amazon specifically and the role it plays in e-commerce. Also looking at, there's two selling options on Amazon via Seller Central and Vendor Central. I'm going to be running through some advantages and disadvantages of each. Also looking at Amazon SEO and the importance of search engine optimization on your Amazon listings. Also going to cover the paid services and different key features there as well. And then finally, be happy to take on board any questions. So firstly, for those that didn't know, 66% of searches now start on Amazon as opposed to Google or any other site for that matter. So, and that's product searches specifically. So it really is the starting point for many product searches, even generic searches when customers have not yet decided what product they want, but the product search begins on Amazon. Also, the investment in advertising is growing massively year on year. This is a key area and key driver. So for those that are selling on Amazon and may not be running any paid advertising, it's really important to do so if you want to rank highly, both organically and paid. So to really dominate that position on different keywords. And Amazon is rewarding that because, you know, for them, it's, if you think of put your mindset in the mindset of Amazon specifically, they really benefit from the advertising spend, and there's a huge margin in there for them. So you can see that related in how the algorithm treats listings as well. Just a few more facts and figures, which I thought would be quite interesting. 79% of e-commerce sales are using Amazon as part of that customer journey, so it's a key touch point. 92% of shoppers who start their search on Amazon end up purchasing on it as well. So the buying intent is high, lower funnel, but also there's upper funnel as well. So a lot of opportunity to utilize Amazon in many different ways. 50% of shoppers discover new products on a retailer and then subsequently make their purchase on Amazon. And then finally, and I think this is absurd to be honest, that for this 579 million visits to Amazon UK in November 2020. So, I think that's a very, very high amount if you think about the population of the UK. Clearly, everyone is a Prime member. 60% of Amazon shoppers are on Prime, and it's a key part of the customer journey and shopping experience, especially around Q4. So I think a very relevant time to be discussing Amazon as a channel and a platform. Perfect. So sellers versus vendors. There are two selling options on Amazon for those that don't know. You can either sell third party via Seller Central, where you pay Amazon a percentage on every sale that you generate through the platform. And we'll run through the advantages of those. Also, Vendor Central is a first party selling option where Amazon acts as a reseller and sell on your behalf, may be better suited to some of the BFA members. I think that model we find could often be, for those that are not so well acquainted in the D2C space, the vendor model may be better, but I will run through that now. So how can you tell if a vendor's selling on an Amazon listing? I'm sure you'll all be familiar with an Amazon listing. Here's an example. As you can see here, when underneath the buy now button or the add to basket, you can see dispatched from and sold by Amazon. So this means there's a vendor selling, meaning Amazon creates orders to fill your product and you ship to Amazon to fulfill those orders, and they take care of everything else regarding the fulfillment to the customer, fulfilling the orders and the customer service. And another way you can look is if by clicking, see here, you've got the new 7 from £4.50. This will give you a list of all the sellers on a listing. So as per Amazon's regulations, you should only have one listing for one SKU, and that's one ASIN. There you will find there's duplicates, but that is against their regulations, so not a best practice there. So what Amazon would like is a competitive environment, a race to the bottom. So it's really key to ensure that you have control of your resellers, and if you are wanting to sell on Amazon, that you are the only seller to prevent discounting. As you can see here, this is what it would appear to be when Amazon is selling the product, amazon.co.uk, and that's the vendor here in the list of sellers, and these are the other sellers selling the product as well. Perfect. And just another example of how that would appear on a listing. Now, identifying sellers. So there's two, when you're a seller, that's the third party selling option. And as you can see here, it actually says the brand name, as opposed to Amazon, it says the brand specifically, or the company name. So AO, Ask, Home Junction, these are all sellers selling via Seller Central. And when you're on Seller Central, you can fulfill, when you receive a product order, you can fulfill in a number of ways. Either you can use Amazon's fulfillment, which is FBA. So that's sold by your brand and fulfilled by Amazon. This is how you can tell on the listing. If you see that there, sold by the brand name and then fulfilled by Amazon, that means that they're utilizing Amazon's fulfillment service, and will have the Prime badge, which is key and beneficial. Also, you can see here, if it says dispatched from and sold by the brand, that means they're using their own fulfillment. So if you've got a 3PL or your own warehouse, then you can fulfill any orders direct to the customer from your own warehouse. So just some advantages. I think the advantage of vendor is it appears that Amazon's selling, so that will increase, creates trust amongst customers, as there is a real trust and loyalty of Amazon. Also, an increase in revenue. Amazon would never disclose this, but I always suspect, you see when the best-selling listings on Amazon always tend to be ones that they fulfill. So I think there could potentially be some algorithm impact on that as well. And of course, the benefit of the Prime badge. There's something called A+ content, which is a rich enhanced feature. And when you're on Vendor Central, you get more modules available and you can do customized A+. So this is really key. The way to tell whether it's Vendor Central content or Seller Central content is if you see here from the manufacturer. That means that it is Vendor Central. So that's a key note to see on an Amazon listing if you want to know whether it's Amazon selling or Seller Central account there. And just a few more. So Amazon takes care of customer service when you're on Vendor Central. You don't need to deal with any of that. So that's I think a real positive. Also the inventory management, all you need to worry about is fulfilling their product orders, which also can come with its challenges, but maybe save that for another time. They do put some strict guidelines around those. And also there's lower fees in some instances. You have an agreed price with Amazon that they order your products at. And actually in some instances you'll find that the margin is better per product when on vendor than on seller, once you take into account other fees associated with Seller Central. Also, we can map those out. There's rate cards available should you be interested in looking into that further. And then Amazon takes care of the fulfillment to the end customer. So it really is more of a business to business model, but the capabilities you have for optimization are still just as strong when on Vendor Central, and I will run through those as well. So just a few disadvantages. Yeah, margin can be an issue. You wholesale price is expected, and also Amazon will discount. So you lose control of your price, and I think this is really key. If you want to maintain an RRP, you can tell Amazon to sell at a certain price, but there's no guarantee of that. And if they feel that the stock in their warehouse isn't shifting at a rate they would like it to, they may discount, and that could be damaging to your brand and damaging to your other channels. So it's definitely an aspect to consider, and I can share some best practices around that as well. Also, new product launches, it can be very difficult to launch new products. There's a few schemes such as Born to Run, which has come out, which allows you to dictate how much stock Amazon will hold. But to get the initial orders in for new products is definitely something to consider. And also you won't have access to your customer base at all. You have limited anyway with Amazon, to be honest with you, other than demographics. But you have all customer information is hidden because Amazon's selling to the customer and not you. There are tight guidelines as well around the inventory management and fulfillment, which can be a downside. Okay, so just to flip it on its head and look at some advantages of Seller Central, the third-party selling option. You have control of your price, and I think this is really key. If you want to maintain a selling price that's consistent across channels, then Seller Central is definitely one to consider. Also, the analytics, so you get further analytics and insights. You're able to contact customers directly after their orders. So if you find that there's any, firstly for the further information about the product that you may not be able to get across in the listing, it can be useful to send out emails to the customers following receipt of their order, inciting reviews, so asking, could you leave us a review, or preempting any, common issues or problems that customers may have with your products. So it's as much to incite positive reviews and prevent negative ones as well. And then A+ content. So as I said with the Vendor Central, when it says from the manufacturer, here where it says product description, that's how you know that it's Seller Central A+ that's been built on the listing. And finally, there are advantages. If you use Fulfillment by Amazon, you can expand to other markets. With Brexit, there's definitely some considerations around tax registration, and this definitely doesn't bypass the new laws that have come into play, but there are some additional expansion benefits from being on Seller Central. And the inventory management, now looking at just at some disadvantages. Inventory management, you need to maintain, if you're using Amazon's fulfillment, you need to ensure you also have a constant level of stock within the Amazon warehouse. And that can be difficult if there's extended lead times and you have issues with restocking. Customer service. So when on Seller Central, you need to manage the customer service element of Amazon, and that takes time. It's on 24 hours throughout the weekend as well. There's tips and tricks to address that, such as putting in place an out of office. But any message you get through, you need to respond to within 24 hours. There's a timer basically allocated to each message, and if you don't, then there's penalties applied to your account. So a key thing to note and to manage. Also fees, it is very much product dependent, but Amazon will take a 15% fee on every sale when on Seller Central, and they calculate that based upon the total selling price inclusive of VAT. So you're actually looking at about 18% of the price ex VAT. Cool. So just moving on here then, that's just a little bit about the two selling options and some advantages and disadvantages of each. Now I'm just going to look at the search engine optimization and our best practices around how an Amazon listing should look. Did you want to say something,
everybody,
Lucy?
I was only going to just say to everybody, you're all being very quiet today. Do feel free to ask Jack any questions. So stick your hand up if you want to ask a question. Oh, and yeah.
Should I carry on?
Go on, Jack.
Perfect.
Carry on.
Lovely. So there's over the last 12 months, there's been 200 million additional Amazon listings launched on the platform. This is just to give you an example of a relevant product within the shoe category, and that they have put some attention into optimizing the listing, but that we actually feel that there could be further optimization work done to that. I'm going to run through what that looks like. So how to optimize a product listing. There's key areas that are indexed by Amazon. I think I like to talk about 3 pillars with Amazon. One is branding. So it's very important that all of the content appears on brand. Also user experience. So to provide a good user experience for the listing, to give the most seamless journey for a customer to make their end purchase decision. And then there's finally Amazon's algorithm, and there's key areas. The A9 algorithm indexes some key areas on Amazon more than others. So it's really important to optimize those and have the correct level of keyword density to ensure that you're ranking accordingly on the listing. So Amazon wants to, when you search for a product on Amazon, they want to present the customer with the most highly converting listing and most highly relevant listing. And it's really through the content optimization that we ensure that you are one of those players. So the product title structure needs to lead firstly with the brand name. This was brought in as a regulation recently. And then you would then put the product variant and following that relevant keywords. It's important not to make it too spammy or put any repetition in the titles, but also have any high volume relevant keywords in there as well. There's a character limit associated, and it's important to utilize that. The title is one of the most highly indexed areas. So what that means is Amazon will be looking at the title for relevancy. And also one thing to note is mobile first as well. So over 50% of Amazon sales are via mobile now. So it's also key to look at that on your mobile and see how it appears and make sure it's optimized for both your laptop, desktop, and mobile. Finally here in the bullet points, this is our best practice to lead with caps. As you can see, there's a long explanation. This is one of our clients, just some of the bullet points that we put across. Keyword dense, providing insight around the product, key USPs. So really important to utilize all 5 bullet points that are available and write descriptions for the product. You want to give your potential customers a really strong brand experience and immersion into your products and what the USPs of those are. And there's also image requirements. I'm just gonna have to keep moving this around. So with the image requirements, Amazon has strict regulations around those, and if you don't adhere to them, then maybe your listing could be suppressed or not be as readily available when viewed in the search results page. So this is just to give you a brief overview. It needs to be at least 1,000 pixels. The product needs to fill 85% of the image and on a white background. And this is just for the first image on the listing. And these are just a few types that they accept as well. You have 7 image slots available. Use them. If you're a brand registered seller on Amazon, you have video as well. If you've got video assets, use that. It's important to, you know, our approach to Amazon is really to leave no stone unturned. Look at all aspects of the listing, and that's really how you're going to drive month on month, year on year revenue success on the channel. You need to have high quality image assets. This is something we see. If you don't have high quality image shots of your products, then that's the first step to get that in place. In terms of our service, we've got a graphic design team that would work with those image assets to optimize them for Amazon. But we need the raw image assets to work with. And if you are wanting to take control of the channel, it's essential that you are correctly portraying your brand with strong images across those 7 placements. And then finally, one that often gets left out here is the back-end keywords. Amazon looks at, you know, when you set up a product on Amazon, there's a section for keywords, there's a section for product information that's not visible on the front end. It's so important to fill this with content, as it really will have an impact on the ranking and performance of your listing. Amazon stores is another feature that's available to optimize. It's almost a shop front within Amazon. So as you may have your e-commerce store outside of Amazon, your Shopify store, this is an opportunity to create that environment within the Amazon ecosystem, and you could drive paid traffic there as well. So within the advertising, you can build landing pages, especially around key dates. So, you know, I know back to school is a really relevant one for the BFA members. So a really powerful tool that is often not utilized. A+ content. Here's an example of some A+ content. It comes below the fold on an Amazon listing. So actually it comes above the bullet points on mobile. But if you have a look at A+ content, it's a really rich enhanced feature that's available to further solidify your brand and put across the authority that your brand has within the category you operate in. There's also an opportunity to put video in there. You know, if you have video and you're selling on Amazon and you're not using it, use it where you can. There's also advertising types now that allow you to introduce video. So it increases conversion rate and is going to really assist with performance. It's one key area that Amazon's driving at the moment. Perfect. So just to cover now, I'm going to look at the paid services and the structure of how those are, and also the different features available within they call it the AMS, or the advertising module within Amazon. So this is probably a view that you are familiar with. So when searching for toys, you can see here at the top, this is called a sponsored brand ad. Now you need 3 products placement for this, and it is one of the, you know, it's prime real estate on Amazon, but it definitely has a cost attached to it. So the cost per clicks tend to be higher. And normally it would form about 20% of your spend, 20 to 30% of your spend, your monthly spend and budget on advertising on Amazon. You need, as I said, you need 3 products, 3 SKUs for each ad, or you can drive it to a category page. And this would be the ad that would drive through to the store should you wish as well. Now, where you see sponsored here, these are sponsored product ads. There's 4 or 5 placements available for those, and these are the most commonly used ad types across our clients. Would probably around 80% of the monthly advertising spend would be allocated to this ad, and it's the most highly converting and also a lower cost as well. In terms of how the advertising is laid out, it's a pay-per-click model. So for each customer click on your ad, you pay a fee, which is on a bidding. So bidding structure, very similar to Google Ads, if you're familiar with the Google advertising space. Now, it's really key. There's something called the buy box on Amazon. And the buy box is where when you click add to basket on a listing, only one person can benefit from that sale. Now, Amazon will not stop resellers. It's within their interest to have multiple resellers on a listing, because it means that everyone's competing for the buy box. And the buy box you could see is the add to basket box. So with this example here, if there were, say, 7 sellers on this listing, only one could benefit. And if you're running advertising and you don't have the buy box, then it means your campaigns will pause, your advertising will pause. So I'd just say right from the start, it's really important to consider, you know, should you take control of Amazon? Should you want to sell on Amazon? are you going to have an issue with resellers? And that needs to be addressed first, because you don't want it to be in an environment, a discounting environment, and it makes things very difficult to manage in terms of day to day and within your account. These are the targeting options available. There's automatic, manual, you've got broad, phrase, and exact match, quite similar to Google. You'll be very familiar if you are advertising in the Google ad space or have any insight into that. Now, brand registry is really key. So if you have, if you're looking to launch on Amazon or are already, you need a trademarked brand to get brand registry, and that it's pretty essential. We don't really work with any brands that wouldn't have brand registry. So if you don't have, your brand isn't trademarked yet, submit for one if you're looking to sell on Amazon. And it's really key. It gives you additional advertising features, content features, the A+ content, the store, none of that's available unless you're brand registered. If you're not brand registered, you can only optimize your title, bullet points, and your images. So it's a really key driver and part of creating a strong environment on Amazon. Now, with the sponsored brands, as I mentioned before, you can drive the traffic to a landing page, which could be within your brand store, or a storefront as well. So there's a product list page here. So if you remember that ad that I showed you before that came at the top, that could drive to a list of 3 products. So it can be very useful to, if you have complementary products and you want your customers to interact with a range, then it's a really useful ad type. And then you've also got here an opportunity to target your competition. So if you have any brands that are selling on Amazon already, that you have relevant like-for-like items or competitive items, you can get these spaces on the Amazon listing with your ads. So you can target those. So shoppers that land on that listing will see your product and potentially click through to purchase your product instead. And also some benefits of the product display ads is they have a lower ACoS, which is essentially like ROAS, so a higher ROAS, which is a term I'm sure you're familiar with. Also an opportunity to increase your brand awareness and increase market share as well. Now, strategic campaign management is so important throughout the calendar year. We normally partner with our clients long-term and look to, form long-term partnerships. Key dates, Prime Day, Black Friday, build a strategy. We did a webinar on this recently, and there's lots of like, there's a lead-in period, there's the event day period, and a lead-out period, and there needs to be key management around that. The research phase when customers are building up to that key date, it's so important that you have that in mind and you plan your budget accordingly as well. So you wouldn't want to get to the, throughout the lead-in period, spend the majority of your allocated advertising budget and not have enough to carry you through effectively through the key date and then the lead-out period as well. Cool. So that I went through very quickly, as there was quite a lot to get through. I hope that was engaging and useful overview at this stage. And yeah, happy to take any questions.
Oh, they're all being very quiet. I've got a few.
No problem.
Just working backwards, and there are some others that I've got, but in particular Black Friday. It's obviously a huge date coming up soon. Are we too late?
Yeah, so there's key dates for submission for certain deals, which you need to get in prior. I think there was a submission date. I've actually got a list of the dates, so I can share that with you if you maybe want to circulate afterwards, if that's relevant. But there's definitely more you can do. I mean, if you haven't prepared already, there will be certain things available to you that you can run closer to the time, like different promotions. But to actually participate in the lightning deals, if you bear with me, I can actually get that for you now. If it's, I'll just pull it up. I've got it here. Just bear with me. I actually ran through this quite recently. Okay, cool. So yeah, so the timeline is as follows. September 17th is the deadline to submit the 7-day deals, best deals, and lightning deals in Australia and the US for those that are selling on Amazon in those regions. And then October 8th is the deadline to submit the same deals in the UK. So actually you do have some time there over the next month. In the next 30 days, you would need to submit for those deals. And then you've also got the key dates around inbound shipping. So there's the inventory cutoff date for those that are on Seller Central, which is the October 24th. So you need to ensure that you've got your stock in place and with Amazon to fulfill those deals. But that's, yeah, I can share a list with you afterwards, Lucy, that you can circulate.
That would be helpful, Jack. I'm just thinking, there may be opportunities that people want to take up, and they need to know whether it's Black Friday 2021 or 2022 that they need to be looking at. David from DB Shoes has asked, how does Amazon handle returns?
So there's different, in the negotiation phase with Amazon, there's different metrics that are agreed about. Like there's so within the return specifically, Amazon is very much customer first. So as I'm sure many that shop on Amazon would know, that they do accept returns for various different reasons. They will normally relist the stock should it not be, should it be sellable in its current condition. So bearing that it's not been damaged, for instance, in transit. So it is really a case by case. I need to find out some more specific information that's available, but it depends also what selling option you're on. So if you're on Vendor Central, then Amazon will handle all the returns because they are the ones that are selling directly to the customer. If you're using their fulfillment, they will also handle it and flag it as either unfillable inventory, so you have an option to remove it and take it out, or they can dispose of it for a fee. So it's quite a broad question that is handled, differently depending on selling options. But if you'd like, I can always get some more material that maps it out. I'm sure we've got that available.
I think we're good on that at the moment, just to understand. I think another question from David is, can you, I presume he means RT7 as opposed to me, help with data feed setups? I think, and that is actually, I know from another conversation I've had with members, it's one of the biggest challenges that they've had is in setting up the data feeds.
So we've got clients that use various different data feeds into their accounts. We're well versed in it. It wouldn't sit within our wheelhouse in terms of what we offer, but we do have partners that would recommend. We work with over 50 brands, so I'm sure that we'd be able to provide a contact that would be the correct person to implement that. But we're comfortable working alongside that. But if it was really around just advising and implementing, because there's various different, if they have an existing software or they were looking for a new one, we could provide recommendations. So yeah, we need to look at the case specifically, and then we could deal with it. Yeah.
Great. Another question here is a very good point to raise, is that actually as an Amazon vendor, there are challenges around unpaid invoices by Amazon and fines that you get, and then no one to speak directly to because it's an awful lot of processes automated.
Yeah. So
is that why we would use RT7, because you sit in the middle of that? Will you handle all that stuff? Or
so I've got a contact at Amazon vendor, so I can open the door. Normally you'd have an account manager, so that is definitely someone to speak with. I know that over time that can be phased out, and there's different solutions you can opt into. So depending on the size, you can opt into like AVS, which is a more sophisticated service that Amazon offers. I mean, it comes at a cost, of course, but
I'm guessing for the smaller retailer,
yeah,
it's very difficult where you're only selling, I don't know, a few £1,000s worth of goods a month. Amazon don't really want to waste the time giving you an account manager who can talk to you like a human being, and that's the frustration, I guess.
No, I get that. I mean, initially, new vendors always have an account manager. I do know that can be phased out over time. We're able to support with logging tickets. I mean, we don't have like there's, in terms of dealing with Amazon, we've learned over the years ways to get things done, even via the vendor or seller support. because there's a certain way to position things with Amazon. So through experience, we know, what works and what doesn't in terms of solving those sorts of issues. So we do have a team that can be lent on, and we do offer that as a service to our clients, is to, offer that operational support day to day. But it is a pain point, definitely. Amazon, key reason we started the agency is because Amazon really is a challenging platform to deal with, and we've learned the hard way for ourselves. So we figured that we'd be well equipped to help others as well.
Lucy's asked if we're a registered brand. Oh, by the way, on registered brand, if anybody hasn't registered their trademark or needs IP or trademark registration help from a solicitor, we have a partner, Briffa, who can offer quite a lot of support without you actually having to incorporate costs. They'll talk you through what you need to do and everything like that, and can organise that for you. But Lucy's asking, if we were a registered brand, can we remove other sellers and content that they are selling our brand?
Okay, so Amazon brand registry gives you ownership of the content. So if you have resellers that are selling legitimate products that you've sold to them, so not counterfeit. If they're counterfeit, that's different. You can report that and have them removed. If they're selling legitimate products that have the same barcode and fall under your listing, Amazon will not. Amazon wants that, actually, if anything, because then that creates, I mentioned it earlier, creates that price war. So they want a discounting environment it's competing for the buy box, essentially. So what brand registry does give you is content ownership, and you can use the brand registry support team, which is a separate team, which are very effective for resolving such issues. I don't know, so sometimes if you log into the brand registry portal, there's a whole different support team. So that's also good to note. I think we find often some sellers go via the seller support team, but if you're brand registered, you can use the brand registry support team. But it won't allow you to remove resellers. That needs to be dealt with offline or outside of Amazon, and managed accordingly with them.
Right, thank you. So that yeah, more complicated. I mean, I think the frustration, I guess, for a lot of sellers on Amazon, it certainly was for me when I was distributing, was that we were selling product because we have the distribution contract here in the UK, and our French colleagues were doing deals with Fred Smith in Paris.
Yeah.
And then Fred Smith was selling to a UK company. It was still legitimate product, but actually somebody else, it was coming through the back door. And that is incredibly frustrating, because obviously
it is hard.
Completely legitimate.
It's challenging. I think it depends how you look at Amazon, because Amazon can be used not necessarily as a primary sales channel for you, but also for building brand awareness. It's going to benefit you on other channels. If you have a strong brand presence on Amazon, as you've seen, it's a key player in that customer journey. So it's important to invest in it just from a brand representation perspective, as well as anything. Even if it's not you selling directly, it's worthwhile taking control of it to ensure your brand is being correctly portrayed. So we have some clients that measure different KPIs as opposed to just the top line revenue through Amazon.
Do you know how I can protect my pricing? I mean, what are the key considerations when it comes to pricing?
I think if you're on Seller Central, then you have control over that, over your selling price. It's difficult to, as I mentioned before, Amazon may discount if you're a vendor. But if you quite a good tactic we've seen is if you have a hybrid account, so you've got a vendor central account and a seller central account, and you list the seller central products, the products in both sides, and you have your RRP listed via seller. A lot of it will keep Amazon in check and keep them close to your selling price. We find that a lot of it's algorithm based, so it's automated. So what they're doing is they're reading from a massive data feed how best to price the product, and if you have a seller on there that's selling at the correct amount already, then it can keep them close to that. So that can be a good trick to ensure that your price point is maintained, and then you won't have unhappy resellers when they're like, no one's purchasing off you because you can get it cheaper on Amazon, which is, I think, quite common.
Yeah, yes, actually that does lead on to another question. Is about currently an awful lot of our retailers and manufacturers sell to retailers. What are the key challenges in that dynamic with Amazon that perhaps they may need to be aware of, and how might they avoid those conflicts that they're going to get between selling on Amazon and selling in retail?
Yeah, I think, if it is a challenge that you need to face, and a decision you need to make about weighing up the pros and cons of each. I think it's, we saw there the 80%, I can't remember the exact figure, but there's a very high percentage of shoppers that will check online on Amazon even after finding a product in store, and that's going to be happening regardless. So I think it's about managing that with your the relationships you have with them, and it is a business change decision, and as you know, as we've all seen, like with everything that's happened in the world over the last 2 years, you can have your on trade, your in store stripped from you like that quickly. And I think having an attention to online and ensuring that you have another revenue stream set up, unless it really cannibalizes those relationships, it's definitely worthwhile looking into and considering.
Are there any key questions that I should be asking myself, my business, to when I'm preparing to sell on Amazon, about whether I should do it? Is there something that I should say to myself, have I got the warehouse set up? Is it going to need a lot of different administration? Will I need to employ somebody purely to look at Amazon? What's the tipping point between, I can post a few products on Amazon, now I need somebody who's there constantly taking photographs, checking the SEO's correct? I mean, I didn't even realize there was a back end that nobody sees, and therefore you need to check what's there. That was new to me. Thank you, Jack. I'm so illuminated. Thankfully, I don't have to do listings on Amazon, but an awful lot of our members do. So
I think yeah, you touched on a good few points there. I mean, we'd always recommend that we have a point person from our client side to work with alongside, so someone that can also upskill over time, and just a key person from all of our clients that we can work with day to day. Of course, it's about looking at your current model. Are you fulfilling large orders to retailers, and are you selling direct to consumer? Are you equipped for single unit orders and fulfilling those? Like, I want to buy one pair of shoes from you. Can you fulfill that? And could you manage that in mass? If not, do you need a 3PL that's well equipped? And we've got recommendations for some that we work with that we can refer. So are you equipped for direct to consumer? Do you have a customer service, someone that can manage the customer service element of Amazon if that's new for you? So it really, and it really does depend what model you want to suit with Amazon as well, because we work with vendors and sellers, and the vendors we work with, we're still able to provide the same scope of services. So all the listing optimization, all the advertising management, that's applicable to both platforms. But how engaged you have to be with Seller Central is definitely higher, because you need to maintain stock levels, inventory levels, and also the customer service element, which you wouldn't have to with vendor.
No, but you're getting a much bigger return on your...
Sometimes, but like I've speaking to a spirit brand, for instance, and their single unit bottles actually work out, they have a higher margin when selling via vendor than seller, because of when you take into account the packaging and fees and everything else on Seller Central, there's not a lot to play with, so it's less headache to go via vendor in that instance.
That's really helpful. We have got no more questions coming through, Jack. Everybody's being very quiet this morning. I am shocked. I think maybe you've just given them so much information.
Everyone's fallen asleep, maybe.
They're going, well, no, well, possibly, Jack. I'm still awake though, and I did warn you at the beginning that you need
that's
to
good.
keep me awake.
You were in my test.
It was that was incredibly interesting. Thank you very much, everybody, for your participation and your questions. I'm going to witter for a couple of seconds longer, so if you do have anything else you want to ask Jack, now is your opportunity. Thank you, Jack, for your time and insights, and I think we've gained some valuable advice and on how to maximise our sales, which I'm sure our members will be wanting to follow up with you afterwards. As I said at the beginning, we will be sharing Jack's information, but obviously please don't hesitate to contact myself or Nick should you have any other questions, and we will pass on Jack's details and the presentation. Don't forget, everybody, that we are running a BFA Going Global webinar next week on Australia, on doing business with Australia and the opportunities that there are in Australia for retail, manufacturing and sourcing. Lots of interesting brands and dynamics out there, particularly as we get warmer here. Maybe we should be looking at Australia more often for our product. Yeah, if you aren't members of the BFA already, then obviously please join us, and if you are members, please tell everybody else about how great this webinar was, and we hope you'll be able to share it.
Just quickly, Lucy, if you don't mind,
course,
any feedback that, any areas you'd like us to unpack, like specific areas that you feel like you'd like a whole presentation on that area specifically, send that across to Lucy or myself, and we'd be happy to organize tailored webinars as a result of the feedback. This was really just to give a brief overview, and we'd be happy to, we can get into much more detail that's relevant, and we've got some specialists that have key insight into vendor much more than me, and I know that's probably quite a big sticking point. So yeah, feel free to send across any ideas.
That would be great, actually, and please, everybody, take that seriously. Tell us what you want. The whole point of BFA is to be here to support the members and deliver what you want. It's great for Nick and I to sit here and think that we know what you want, but you need to tell us too. So if you would like further information from RT7, another presentation, I know there are a couple of people who couldn't be on the call this morning that want some other information, so we'll be looking at that. But thank you, everyone, for joining us this morning. It's been a pleasure having you here with Jack from RT7 Digital.
Thank you.